I'm going to start off with probably the most irritating one and something that makes me legitimately angry to see.
Okay, I'm going to take a guess that the opening argument here is going to be probably public lobbies and the people in them. So, like kids running around and like the abundance of crashing avatars and the toxicity that's just generally around in the public space for new players. I'm going to say, because that seems to be one of the biggest issues that we face in VRChat is that's always been a problem.
And that is the crashers.
I was
So
spot
for
on.
those of you who don't know, VRChat runs on Unity. And all of the data for the game, other than a couple of worlds and the default avatars, are created by community members. This world, this avatar, everything is made by community members.
Yeah, so something I should clarify is that although VRChat is a game made by a developer and there was a company behind that and they obviously built the bones of the game and made it what it is today, almost all of the content that you enjoy in the game is made by the community. It is made by external individuals. And although that's a very good thing, it can also be a very bad thing if it's used in the wrong way. It's just like anything in life. Like, you can give someone a powerful sports car, and most people will drive that sports car with responsibility. But there are a few people who will drive it dangerously and will be a hazard to other people. It's the same thing.
Unfortunately, this level of access to the very low-level parts of the game's code can create some very malicious avatars that can do things like completely break your game and sometimes steal your IP address. Stuff that you wouldn't think any large-scale game company would allow to happen in their personal community. But it does.
So I've heard reports, that these are only alleged for as far as I know. I've heard reports of people's entire PC setups being bricked from getting crashed, where it's actually just completely destroyed, like the CPU or the processor. They've actually just completely given out and they've had to buy new parts or new PCs to get back online, which, think about that can cost you thousands of dollars. So I've never known someone personally who's had that happen to them, but I have heard reports of it. So
This game has a lot of crashers. It happens to me at least once a day. I tend to turn all avatars off because it is, completely intolerable for me. But for a lot of my friends, they're screwed. The reason why I feel like this is particularly important to talk about is because a lot of members of the VRChat modding community have created mods and clients that completely avoid crashes of multiple types and sometimes entirely prevents them from happening to you. But the VRChat developers haven't implemented any of this. And I can't tell if it's ineptitude. I doubt it is. They're quite clearly good at their job making things like servers for the game, or just a lack of giving a shit, because that really is what it feels like in a lot of ways for this game a lot of the time. It seems like something that any game company would want to do right off the bat. If you see someone breaking other people's experiences in your game, you fix it. That's your job. And I don't see that here. Games like...
So what they're saying is spot on. I completely agree with what Azeal is saying. Most games, like think of any other title that you play. Granted, they've probably got a bigger development team and a bigger budget, but it's not like a lot of money hasn't been thrown at this game in the last couple of years, and it's not like they don't have an entire development team that's been working on it for years. Let's say people hack in, let's say, I don't know, Counter-Strike or Apex or whatever. The community complain, and the development team look at anti-cheats or ways to potentially try and stop that as best as they can. And they have ban waves where like thousands of accounts will suddenly get banned. So lots of companies do engage in this because it's one of the most harmful things to a game that people like. If you can't play the game because other people ruin it for you, you're not going to play it. And you're going to play something else. And in the eyes of a development team, that is disastrous. And yeah, it seems to be one of those major things that's never really been dealt with by the development team, which is very interesting. I'm not quite sure why. It's either, there's a lack of knowledge there, or it's just the physical implementation to counter this, or it could be the way in which the platform operates. All of these things could be factors, but we don't know. We just don't know why it's not addressed.
It's like Rec Room don't have this problem
Agreed.
because
Yeah,
they
Rec
know
Room
the
don't have this
limitations
problem.
and they don't try to push it. They know that if you give people the ability to make avatars and you don't make it work right, you'll have things like this. They've seen it very clearly in their main competitor.
Hi,
And I guess
Ruling.
in a
Love
way,
you,
I
Bean.
can
Thank you for
kind
the
of tell
hydrate.
where this
I
is
only
coming
have
from
cold tea
because
because I only drink cold
VRChat
tea.
has such an astronomically large market share of the social VR space, especially in their niche of older folks playing VR, that you don't have any competitors. Like, they have no one that they can say, oh shit, we're going to lose, right? Like, you're seeing a company get lazy, at least as far as I can tell, because they don't have to try hard. And I think that's really sad. Something you might or might not know about me as a YouTuber historically is that I started making Geometry Dash content. You know, that dumb little mobile game where you jump by clicking the one button? Yeah, I made videos on that, and I was super into its community. And there was a joke throughout that community the entire time that we loved a broken ass game. We all knew that it was scuffed as hell. And honestly, the reason for it was pretty apparent. It had a devoted community that wasn't going anywhere, despite the fact that the game was almost never updated, terribly broken, and had severe issues when it came to performance, even though it's literally a 2D platformer. And in both of these games, it manifests basically the same way. You see little things are wrong. Stuff like the menu being incredibly glitchy, or stuff just not loading, or crashes even without malicious attacks from.
Okay, what I'm just gonna go back real quick to what they just said about menus. There is something with VRChat that drives me absolutely mental. If you are in your friends list and you open your friends list, and I'm talking about the full screen one. If you scroll through it and you find someone and you click on them and it opens their profile and then you can ask to invite them or you can join them or whatever, when you press back or you leave that screen, it completely resets you to the start of your friends list. So you have to scroll down again, expand your online friends list, and scroll through them all from the start. It doesn't put you back where you left off. That is the most inconvenient, annoying fucking thing. And because they're so used to it, they don't even realize that's a problem. They've been doing that for years. And so it just seems like second knowledge. It's become like, muscle memory to the dev team. They don't even realize that this is one of the most infuriating fucking things. Cool, agreed. It's so annoying and it's so easy to fix. That's like, I don't know, an hour to fix that or whatever. It's just a line of code. And to this day, it's so fucking hell. It makes me so sad. I think the VRC devs need to spend those monies on VRC Plus to spend them on fixing bugs. Well, VRChat Plus is obviously to create extra revenue for the investors because the investors have sunk major money into this game and there's been no return of funds. So the investors are on their backs being like, hey, you need to start making some money. We need to see some returns on our investments. That's how investors work. They want to see results. People don't invest in Amazon and expect not to see results. It's the same concept here. And so far, I don't know what the situation is with their investors, but I can't imagine it's great right now. So, yeah. It'd be interesting to see the finance book for this game, to see kind of like the cash flow and how it's all works. I know, like, I think this is me going on just my general knowledge. I could be wrong. Please do not take this as fact. I think they've had $94 million in funding since the start. I think. Don't hold me to that. I could be wrong. The investor on VRChat kind of made a huge mistake back in 2019. I feel, in my honest opinion, if you invested major money into this game a few years ago, you made a mistake because you're not going to get that back. You're not getting that back. The game's been out for like 5 years and we're still in alpha or beta. We haven't actually had an official full release of this game. So yeah, just let that simmer for a moment. That's crazy. We were just talking about crashes and stuff.
It's just, you can tell the effort that you want to see in the games you love isn't there. It feels empty, soulless. I know 20 years from now, I'm going to look back on this game once, the crazy metaverse shit has basically become the norm. And I'm going to say, wow, that was a really weird start to my experiences because this game isn't made well. And this laziness or whatever it is seems to also be very present in the moderation team because quite simply, there aren't enough of them. And even if they are working hard, it's not working.
Absolutely agreed.
There are
Have any of you ever seen a mod in VRChat? Have you ever seen a mod like in a world, or just you have a conversation with one? Has this happened to any of you? I'm pretty much expecting. Yeah, can we mod check in chat? Have you ever seen a VRChat dev or mod? Cool, you've never seen them. One time, a long time ago. So Hikari's for one. Krieg, it has mods? Yeah, I know. Apparently it does. It's allegedly got mods. I don't know though. Once in Fizzy's stream video? Okay, that doesn't count because you didn't see them in VR yourself. But yeah, okay, we've had 2 sightings. So I feel like this is spotting for UFOs. We've got 2 sightings in chat. Kush, you saw one 4 years ago. We got 3 sightings. 3 or 4 times in my whole 4.5 years. So they do. We can collectively agree there is a mod team and they exist, but they're just never here. You know, it's like standing at the bus stop waiting for a bus. It never fucking appears, and then when you leave, 4 come at the same time. It's literally that. That's how I think of the mod team. I'll tell you a fun story, actually. We'll let this go on a little bit further and see if they cover it.
Astronomical amount of children in this game. I don't mean 15,
yeah,
14,
the kids is a massive issue now as well.
I'm talking, I've met a 7-year-old fan in a public lobby in this game.
Keep in mind, you're meant to be 13 or older to play this game.
Let alone a VRChat world.
I feel like parents now want their kids to have all the latest tech so they're not missing out, but they're giving it to them at too young an age. Like, I commonly see, like, 4 and 5-year-olds walking around competently using iPads, which is crazy to me. Like, the concept of letting a small child get hooked to a mobile device when they're learning about the world is quite scary, I think. So, a lot of kids have been given quests, and what do they do with the quests? They play VRChat, and it's caused this issue. VRChat mods are like Inksy was moderating. Yeah, exactly. It's like
with a bunch
we've
of
had sightings, but they've
everywhere,
never actually turned up.
Right?
You know?
Like, this is terrifying to think that these kids' parents just gave them a headset or a computer and said,
"Agreed."
Do your shit. And when it comes down to it, even though it's the parents' job to make sure that their kids are safe and protected online, it ends up being a task for the moderation team, because not only are they putting themselves in danger by being here, danger in a lot of ways. I mean, you can see some shit in this game, but it makes the experience so much worse for the rest of us. Like, you have no idea how many times I have walked into a public lobby and just heard a fucking daycare. It literally sounds like a daycare, and it's consistent. It happens at least once a day nowadays. I go into maybe 20, 30 public lobbies total, and at least once a day I will hear a lobby that is indistinguishable from a fucking preschool. And unfortunately, even though it's annoying for us, it's a hell of a lot worse for them. The kids in this game that go through the kind of shit you see in a public lobby can legitimately get scarred by it. Not only is the social rejection you often feel as a kid around adults awful when those adults are just trying to hang out. If you walked into a bar as a kid, if that was allowed, imagine how annoyed the adults would be there. And you can't expect them all to just be okay with it. And that kind of negative feedback for a kid can be legitimately damaging later on in life. Imagine being bullied, basically, by the people that you're supposed to look up to, people the age of your teachers, of your parents' friends. That's not natural. It's not normal, and it's certainly not healthy. And of course, it's not just the kids who experience the bullying. It's all of us. It's a very severe and common issue in this game. You will see people in tears sometimes because of the things they hear from others on the internet. Because, admittedly, VRChat feels a hell of a lot more real than a Discord call. And it's bad enough on a Discord call when you have someone telling you to kill yourself or to, go fuck yourself even. But when you see it from someone with body language, it can manifest significantly more for you.
I completely agree with this. VRChat is a social platform, and sometimes the experiences you have interacting with people can feel like real life. So, you can have those awkward cringe moments where someone says something and everyone's like, oh, they react exactly the way they would do in real life. And there's a lot of crossover between interactions in real life and interactions in VR chat. Obviously, there are things that are completely different, such as, you know, you run up to someone and give them a head pat. If you did that in real life, everyone would call you crazy, you know? So there are significant differences as well. The problem with having like this toxicity and all these kids around in public lobbies is when you're new to this game and you don't know people and you don't know the community, your only access to this game is through public lobbies. So you just have to join worlds, and they're your first impression of this game. And when you join a world and it's people throwing racist slurs, dropping N-bombs, and a bunch of kids running around screaming incoherently, you're instantly turned away from the game, because first impressions are everything. And if you've heard about a game, you're like, oh, I want to check it out. Your first experience is terrible. You're not likely to come back to it. And I feel like we have lost potentially amazing figures and content creators and community members because they never gave the game a chance because of their initial interactions in the game. The internal community is so cut off from new players that it's so hard for them to integrate into the game. I feel like that is one of the biggest issues with VRChat, and it creates this stigma where people don't want to play because unless they know people who play already, there's just no way to get into the community. It's like this invisible wall that blocks people. And for me, that's the most annoying thing about public lobbies, because we all started in public lobbies. I started in public lobbies. I met my first friends in public lobbies. I got to know the game through public lobbies. I became part of this community through public lobbies. And if I had to do that now, I don't think I would.
A Discord call when you have someone telling you to kill yourself or to, you know, go fuck yourself even. But when you see it from someone with body language, it can manifest significantly more for you. I know this from experience. I am not good with conflict. That's something I've known about myself for a while. When I have someone upset at me or I'm upset at someone and I have to confront them, it feels awful. If you are someone who does not like confrontation, VRChat literally just might not be for you. It's not safe for you mentally. And that's just so upsetting to me because this game changed my life. But you see people hurting because of it. And that, it really fucks me up. I don't know how else to say it. It's really upsetting to see my friends come to me and say, I just had someone 15 years older than me tell me to kill myself.
Okay, so I've had certain interactions in public lobbies and with even one time with a content creator who I will never name, where I felt genuinely intimidated and bullied. And because it is VR is so much more real than, you know, talking in a chat room or fighting with someone on Twitter. Literally, when you're intimidated and bullied by someone who is literally right in front of you, it feels no different to real life. And I felt terrible. I've never spoken about this, and I will not talk about what happened in that situation and who was involved. And this was a long, long time ago. This is going back like sort of probably about 3.5 years ago. 3 years. So I've been in the game for about a year when this happened to me. And it's something that I remember very well. I remember the entire situation, what happened to this day. And it can make you feel really bad. Yeah, you can block them, but somewhat I won't talk about it. This is something that I will never talk about publicly. Like, we will never go into details about this. But this has happened to me. Someone has bullied me before, and I felt really shitty afterwards. And I understand how people can feel that way. Like, you can completely bully people in VRChat. I feel like people do bully people in VRChat. But that's a story for another time. But yeah, what they're saying here, it makes perfect sense. I completely agree.
Because that's a reality that some of them have to experience. And you might be wondering, oh, Azeal, you know...
Oh, madam, I have to stop and say, you are a shining example of what I was saying, where your first experience was really, really bad, and you never got to know the actual VRChat community, because the public worlds were just not worth it for you to integrate into the better side of the community, because the good side of the community is pretty much behind closed doors, because we have to shield ourselves away from this toxicity and this mess that is public worlds and just random people. But if you play, you will get into the community. I would completely advise anyone who's thinking about trying to get into VRChat to absolutely give it a go. And if you tried it before and it didn't quite work for you, do come back and give it another shot. Because this is one of the most amazing communities I have ever been a part of and probably ever will be. And I am so glad I'm here. But I can see why so many people aren't here, because they couldn't give it the chance that it needed in order to be a part of the community. But madam, give it a chance.
That harassment's a problem. How are you going to fix it? Well, here's the worst part. I don't fucking know. I guess they could add more mods, but you'd need an astronomically large number of them to actually make a dent in this problem. You'd need one in every other lobby just to sit there and say, hey, that's not okay. And how well do you think that'll work in a public internet environment? It's just a reality, but it's one that when your game is 13 plus, hurts.
Perfectly timed ad. We're vibing.
That brings up my next favorite thing about this game's community, which is faking mental disorders. Oh my god, this happens a lot. Especially with DID, dissociative identity disorder, or previously known as multiple personality disorder. You will see in like half the bios on this game, oh, I have DID. And you'll ask them, oh, well, when did you get diagnosed? Blue. And they'll say, oh, I'm not. And then it's like, great. Okay, so self-diagnosis. You know, that thing that every single...
Okay, so I've said a few times that I think, and I've only been talking about this recently, like I've kept my mouth closed about this for almost a year while I've been trying to like go through the health service and get help on this one. I think I might have attention deficit disorder, and I have pretty much all the symptoms of it, and my best friend thinks I have it, and is the one who said, you know, I think you actually have this, and I didn't even think about it at the time. They made me kind of aware of it. After speaking to a therapist and my local GP, they both think I do as well, but I do not have an official diagnosis because I haven't been through the phases that you need to. It takes years in the UK, and it will take me years to get through it. So I am undiagnosed. Therefore, I do not say I have attention deficit disorder. I do not actively go around saying, you know, I suffer from this, because I can't make that assumption. I can't jump the gun and be like, oh, hey guys, by the way, I suffer from XYZ. Although, you know, I've never spoken to a specialist and there's no diagnosis. I just know in my heart of hearts. That's not the way to do it, because you can be very offensive to those who do suffer from and have had to jump through those hoops to identify and understand and do what they can to be aware of their condition so that they can do what they can to live a normal life. I think that's the best way to put it. Line Chew, hi Bean, love you. Hello. I'm diagnosed with daily sexia. You know, I can prescribe something for that. I hope you don't get a case of that at TwitchCon. So yeah, I've been very careful to not say. So when I forget something, or you know, I fuck up at something, which I do all the time. And if you know me very well, you will consistently see that I display many, many signs of ADD. But I am not actually diagnosed. So when I fuck up because of what I assume to be ADD, I apologize and just say my brain doesn't work properly. Because I don't know what's wrong with me. I literally don't know, but something is wrong with my brain and it doesn't operate the way it should. So this is why I forget things. And literally today, about 10 minutes ago, I had to rewind the video to remind myself what I was talking about, because I forgot the point that I was getting onto. That's a sign of ADD, you know? It's those little things. But I make sure never to, you know, say, hey, you know, I suffer from this, blah, 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 because I'm not a psychologist. I don't know what's wrong with me. It could just be something I'm born with, but we didn't kind of identify until later, you know. I don't know, but I'm very careful about this, and a lot of people aren't. But I have to say, Azeal says that this is very common, that they see this. I personally don't see many instances of people self-diagnosing mental illnesses, but everyone's experience of VRChat will be different, and the people they interact with will always be different. So I have seen this before, but it's not as common as it seems for me anyway.
Psychologist says is unhealthy and can cause actual
Please don't be
damage to
sorry.
your
You can
mental
never
health.
be late.
Great.
Love you.
Cool. And it's normalized here. It is
lonely
legitimately
company.
normalized.
Summer,
to say you
thank
have
you
a
for the
disorder, you
sub.
have not been.
Thank you, Bean. I appreciate it.
Somra became a cutie. One day I hope I get to meet you and give you the biggest hug of your
Mind you,
life. Tots
agreed.
hug, love you so much, Puck.
Aw, Summer. Hell yeah. I look forward to it. I like, if I was rich, I would travel the world. Not to travel the world, but to see all the people I love. I'd definitely swing by. That's for sure. Thank you so much for the love, Bean.
Diagnosed for. And, you know, there are environments that people can be raised in where that's a reality you have to
You
deal
stop
with,
that.
that you can't go to a psychiatrist, for instance. There are parents that I've heard about that maybe don't believe in mental health, which, you know, fuck off. But when you have the opportunity to get diagnosed, or sometimes if you've tried to get diagnosed and you've been told you don't have something, saying you have that is not only harmful to yourself, it is incredibly offensive to the people who actually experience it.
Facts.
Now, I'm not saying that every
Agreed.
single person on VRChat is bullshitting about some kind of mental disability, because oftentimes they're not. It's the internet. People have problems. People have problems in real life too. But it is disproportionately represented here. Bullshitting about your mental disabilities is something that is just, it pisses me off. It really does. Of course, sometimes those mental disorders are very real and need to be treated. And that comes to the next point, which is the
thanks,
glorification of mental disorders. Even for people that really do have things wrong with them that are diagnosed, oftentimes they play it off as a joke. You know, haha, I'm so cute. Not eating for 3 days. Things that are not only harmful to yourself, but harmful to the people around you. It has been proven that being around people that glorify these things can often cause you to begin feeling those symptoms, even if they're...
Yep. So there are examples of people who have had depression or, you know, self-harm, etc. Talk to friends who then, you know, they kind of feel the same way and they try to self-harm to see, you know, that can happen. It can be cause and effect, and we adapt naturally. It's not something that we do like through choice. Sometimes we instinctively pick up the actions or the mindsets or the environment of the people around us. This is quite a touchy subject, but I have seen this myself.
Entirely psychosomatic. I guess the point is, if you have something going on with you, either mentally or physically, and you feel like you need help, reach out to people that can get you that help, even if you don't trust the adults in your life.
Line, you make a perfect example of why this is a problem, because people who legitimately do have a problem get drowned out. Their voice gets lost in a sea of other people, and when you legitimately need help and you're reaching out, you get treated like everyone else. It's like crying wolf, and then no one believes you. Yeah, line to you, exactly. You weren't functioning while everyone else around you was. This is it. And it takes away like the severity of it as well, because when loads of people say that they have something wrong with them, which, you know, we don't essentially know or have, it takes away the severity from people who do, because everyone's like, oh, it's just another one of those, you know? It's just like, oh yeah, loads of people have that, it's fine. It's not fine. This is it. People get desensitized to the severity of something if they're always exposed to it.
And you're a minor, so you can't get your own treatment. You know, go to people that might be able to help you. There will be people. Unfortunately, when people don't get help for these things, it can often manifest in their social interactions and cause damage to the social lives of themselves and others. I've seen people, both with mental disorders and without, come into a friend group and destroy it. Once again, this is something that happens in the real world too. But the way I like to think of VRChat's social environment is like everything is cranked up to 11. Someone just fucking upped the saturation on every little part of social interaction in this game. I've heard it called high school for everyone between the ages of 5 and 35. You'll see people make friends and just go nuts on each other within less than a week sometimes. Of course, it's not only friendships. You also see this in relationships. I mean, oh my god, VRChat relationships, dude. That's our next one. VRChat relationships drive me insane a lot of the time, because you have people acting like they've had their lives changed within a week. And just, I have no place to say this. it drives me insane. It drives me insane because
It's hard. I kind of agree and disagree. I have seen some people create absolutely beautiful relationships and even get married in real life from meeting in VRChat. They're just like internet relationships, except you have an extra element of interaction, which is absolutely beautiful. For people who live long distance, it gives them that connection that they could be missing. But it's still an online relationship, and it needs to work in real life as well. And I like I said, people have got married in real life and have moved in and live with their significant other. I know a few cases with people I personally know where this has happened, and they're in happy relationships to this day, and I wish all of them the best. I've also seen relationships crash and burn incredibly quickly as well. So there was once again both ends of the spectrum here. So I agree and disagree here. There's no exact right or wrong or science to this. But online, it's easier to move fast in a relationship. It's so easy to be like, hey, I like you. Oh, you like me? Hey, I like you. Let's get together. And then all of a sudden, you're in a relationship. Although, you actually don't know each other that well. Like the intimacy of getting to know each other before becoming lovers is lost very quickly. And that's why they crash and burn just as fast.
because I've had online relationships that went incredibly well. But when you start using the word love within 48 hours, you have to ask, what does that word mean to you? Because it doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. Hell, I've posted a video on this channel.
Okay, that's okay. You're totally entitled to your personal view. Everyone should be able to have an opinion or view on something. So yeah, don't worry, Bean. You're fine.
A short, where I asked people, what does love mean to you? And everyone has a different answer. But I just can't get myself to believe that it starts within 48 hours. I just can't. And the fact that it's such a common thing for people to believe that drives me insane.
Thank you for the
I guess that's a pretty common topic for this video. You know, me just being off the fucking rails over stuff that I have no right to complain about. But, you know, whatever. That's me. Yeah, I think that's basically everything I had to say. I'm a whiny bitch. Thanks for watching, I guess. If you stuck around this long, I don't know why the hell you did, but I'm going to go to bed now. Good night.
Good night, Azeal.